Hey everybody! It's time for some Q&A. I have a real mic today. Let me know if you can hear me because I've had a real mic plugged in forever, but I never really use it. And so I'm like, let's see what happens with better audio quality. Hey. So today we are going to be doing a live Q&A. Every month I go live on our Virtual Savvy page in our VA Savvies group. We actually also simulcast this to YouTube Live, which is something we've just started doing. And so this is just a time for us to get together to ask questions. Every Tuesday I go live, and sometimes I'll be doing a teaching. Sometimes I'll be bringing in guest experts. But once a month, I try to just reserve a whole hour to answer you guys' questions about virtual assistants, about becoming a VA, about launching, growing, scaling your business. So I am so excited that you have joined me here, and this is going to be really, really fun. So first off, let me just say hello to everybody in the comments and let me know where you are joining from, because I like to just see what corners of the world we are talking to today. I know that some of our students, some of our savvies are located all over the world, not just in the US, but literally from all the way across the world. And it's just so cool that we can unite on this virtual assistant front. So awesome. Hey, so excited. We have April from Birmingham, Tiffany from Alabama. Awesome. Cha from the Philippines. We have a user from the Netherlands, from Hawaii. Oh my goodness, Chicago. Very cool. This is great. And I see some questions dropping in. So that was another thing I was going to say is definitely we want this to be interactive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and answer some of the questions that we got pre-submitted, and then we'll just do a live Q&A time. Okay. And so my team is here as well. So if for some reason I don't get to your question, my team will be working in the chat to try to answer every question as well. Yay. It's so great to see you guys. It's one of those, I'm going to wear pajamas, pretend it's real clothes, and throw on a necklace so you guys believe me kind of days. So it's like, it's the first day of fall. Oh, is anybody else excited? And I'm like feeling really cozy today. Yeah, it's good. It's a good day. So before we get started, for anybody that is kind of new to this whole online world, maybe this is the first time that you've been able to catch me live, I do want to let you know that we have a free checklist and starter kit that you have to grab. Literally, if you're like, how does this whole thing work? What do I need to do to get started as a virtual assistant? This is where you need to go, is the virtualsavvy.com/checklist. This is your step-by-step guide to launching, growing, scaling your own business. And so download the checklist. If you're like, what do I need to do next? Just go in the order of the checklist and everything will be great. All right. So we'll go ahead and jump into some of our pre-submitted questions, and then I'll answer some questions from you guys. So one of the first questions we got, we threw this out on Facebook and on Instagram. And one of the questions that got pre-submitted was somebody asking, they were specifically asking about photography clients. So this individual was looking for a way to market to photographers. And she said, my social posts just aren't getting traction for finding these types of clients. So what do you suggest? So, and some of you guys may have heard me talk about this before, but we talk about something about the different types of marketing. There's passive marketing and there's active marketing. And what we need to be doing, guys, is spending the majority of our time on active marketing. Okay. Passive organic marketing is great once you've built up kind of a reputation, you have a following. We post, me and my team are posting on Instagram probably 5 times a week now. We didn't start doing that. We do that now because we're planning an organic strategy. But when you're first starting out and you're trying to get that first client, guys, passive marketing is throwing content out on your Instagram or on your Facebook and being like, here you go. Now come to me, I'm going to throw something out and I need you to come and find me, right? And it is not the client's responsibility to come and find you, especially in the very beginning. It's your responsibility to go out and find them, which is why we need to focus on active marketing. So active marketing different than passive marketing, means that you are actually making those one-on-one connections, guys. And there's so many different ways that you can do it. You can do that inside of Facebook groups. You can join. For this individual specifically, they were targeting photographers. So I would say join every photography Facebook group that you can find, right? People who are full-time, part-time, aspiring photographers. So join those Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. You're going to target them, follow them on Instagram. There's a whole Instagram strategy that we have for really connecting. You're going to be doing high-end client targeting. That's one of the things that we teach in our course as well, is how do I actually identify these people that would be dream clients and go after them, showing value first. So there's a ton of different ways to actually make true connection and not just throw stuff out and hope that people come to you. Okay. So we want to focus on active marketing. So honestly, for this individual, if they're watching, I would go and I would take a break from doing the social posts. I mean, if you want to throw something on your Facebook page or Instagram once a week, that's fine. And people are like, well, Abby, once a week is terrible for growing an Instagram. Yeah, I know. Don't grow an Instagram right now. Like wait, and first focus on just those one-on-one connections. Okay. Talking to people, introducing people to your business that you actually already have relationships with, right? Here's what I want you to do, because I have a ton of other marketing tips, because I know it's like every time I do one of these Q&As, people ask about marketing, and I could talk for an hour on marketing, which I did in this webinar. So this is a free training you guys can go to. It's virtualsavvy.com/BBO, and you can access my free hour-long training on marketing. Yes, everybody, woo, woo. Who's here's watched the training? We have people who have gotten their first client just from watching this free training and actually taking action on the steps. You won't get clients just by watching it, but if you take action on the steps in this training, you can get your first client absolutely free. Okay. Here we go. Question number 2. Let me hear a woot woot. How do I stand out from the competition? So you guys know, virtual assistants is a growing industry, right? And so I don't want us to be naive and be like, oh, this, like, I'm doing something that nobody else is doing. No, there is real competition, right? But that's okay. People sometimes, when you talk about competition, they'll be like, if you think there's too much competition in the world, go down the bread aisle at your local grocery store and see how many different types of bread there are. And it's like, yes, this is true. But what's actually going to make somebody choose you, your bread, your ciabatta or whatever, as opposed to somebody else's ciabatta? I don't know. I'm craving bread today, apparently. So what's going to make somebody choose you as opposed to somebody else? And that's where, again, you've got to do something to notch it up. We're all about going the next level. The people who really succeed in this field aren't the people who just offer the same services as everybody else, throw their stuff out there and say, okay, I hope that this works, right? It's the people who actually go the step beyond. So we post jobs in our Savvies group. How many of you guys are a member of our VA Savvies community? Yes, love it. So in our VA Savvies, Virtual Assistant Savvies Facebook group, you guys can all join. We post job opportunities. And sometimes we'll have a job opportunity and there'll be 50 people in the comments, right? Here's a job, it's pay, this is our budget, this is how much work we have, here's kind of the person that we're looking for. And there'll be 50 comments of people saying, ooh, me, I'm interested, like, please contact me. Here's a link to my website, right? Again, these are all, it's kind of the same theme here. We're all putting this information out and hoping that they do more research on us. We're putting the ball in their court, right? Or yeah, we're putting the ball in their court to lead and make things happen. You want to own that, right? You want to be holding the ball. You want to have the power, I guess, in that situation to make yourself stand out. And so that's why we are huge fans. We teach value first. Value first methodology is really the foundation of all the marketing that we teach. I recorded a video and you guys can actually watch it here. I'm giving you lots of resources and links to go and do more research after this. So the virtualsavvy.com/secret, I have a whole video on how you can get value first, how you can stand out and stand above everybody else, right? And it really boils down to going the extra mile, going the extra step, right? If somebody's looking for a Pinterest manager, we don't just say, "Ooh, yay, here I am. Like, here's my website. Please hire me," or me, or more info. Oh my gosh. It drives me crazy when there's like somebody has done like this huge post with all the thing and the person in the comments is just like, "More info." It's like, no, you go find more info out. Like, right? You need to go research the client, see if there's anything that you have in common, right? Go the extra mile when presenting yourself so they feel some kind of a connection, right? It could be as simple as recording a little video about yourself. It could be, if it's like a Pinterest manager, you create some Pinterest graphics for them. This is what we're talking about when we say value first. And it's so, so, so important. Okay, guys, I want to ask you this. So if you've, ever been to a party, which none of us have this year, how sad is it that we're going to be coming up on like a whole year? I guess we still have some time, but a whole year with no big parties. I need a concert. It's okay. We will get there. Now I lost my train of thought. How many of you guys have ever been at like a networking event, a party, something where you really didn't know very many people and you're forced to like, okay, I need to make friends, right? So you go and you introduce yourself to somebody and you say, "Hi, I'm Abby." "Oh, hi, I'm Susan." Whatever. "What do you do?" "Oh, cool. What do you do?" "Nice." And you start engaging in conversation and it's all good. And then they do something and they're like, "Yeah, so, I grew up in Seattle." And then you go, "Wait, you grew up in Seattle? I grew up in Seattle," right? And something happens. Their face lights up. There's like this instant like sigh of relief, right? You guys know that feeling. And it's like, oh, we have something in common. And just that commonality forms a bond. And that's one of the things that you guys can even do when doing value first is share your commonalities. And how do you share your commonalities? By doing research. So you've got to be doing research on your clients before you're reaching out to them, before you're doing that proposal. Okay. I promise to you, going the extra mile in the beginning, I would rather you, instead of, filling out 20 proposals a day, just do 5 a day, but do them with value first. Do them and really research and do them well. You're going to have such more success going that route. Okay. Next question. We have a couple more and then we will, we'll move on to the Q&A in the chat. How do I recognize a scam job? Okay. So the reality is that scam jobs do exist. We are working on the internet. We are looking for jobs on the internet. We are going to be subject at times. Let me just ask in the comments, how many of you guys have ran across a scam job? Let me know, because I have. I'm raising my hand because it happens, right? And so the important thing is to recognize when it happens. Most things that seem too good to be true are too good to be true. Okay. There's a lot of things that you can do as far as, guys, YouTube is not going to send you an email from youtube123@gmail.com. Okay. You need to, again, do your research, make sure this is a reputable company. Go look at their Facebook page. Do they have 2 likes and they were created yesterday? Right? Nope. Probably not a good sign. If at any point somebody wants to send you money, don't do it. No, the only reason someone would be sending you money is if they are paying for an invoice that you sent them, right? If they're trying to send you some kind of a check in the mail or anything like that, abort. No, right? So these are just some of the things that you can be watching for. I'm sure you guys have been dropping comments, and so any of you guys can share your experience in the chat as well. I did a live stream a few months back, and we need to do another one because I was on my RV road trip from where. It was like the worst road trip of my life. We rented an RV. It was bad news bears. So, but I did a whole live stream, but I had like terrible internet. So you guys could go back and like listen to the audio of that live stream, but don't look at the picture because it was really blurry. We need to redo that one sometime. All right. A few more questions. Somebody asked about the difference between being a digital marketer and a virtual assistant and which is better to market yourself as. And I'm going to generalize this a little bit. Okay, I teach people how to become virtual assistants, right? Because I think that it's the best way to get started online. If you look back at, some of the big name people in the industry, so many of them started as virtual assistants or by offering some kind of services online. And I think that virtual assistants is just that first step into like, oh, I can use the skills I already have to make money working from home. Okay. However, and I emphasize this a lot to our students in our Savvy System program, to all of you Savvies, right? My goal is for all of you guys to eventually find something that you love doing and become a specialist in that thing. So maybe you get in and you're a general virtual assistant, but you realize that you really love proofreading, or that you really love Facebook ads, or that you really love managing Instagram, whatever it may be. And you become an Instagram specialist or a Facebook ads manager or whatever it may be. And so digital marketer is another one of those step up. Right? So at a higher level, yes, a digital marketer would get paid more than a VA. Your clientele would likely be different. But here's the thing, guys. Don't call yourself a digital marketer until you're ready to actually have that title and you have the training to be able to call yourself that. So a digital marketer would be somebody who really, most digital marketers have a thorough understanding of basic social platforms. They understand email marketing, and they understand sales and a sales funnel process. That's the gist of what an email marketer would know. So it's okay if you don't know those things, right? Start out as a virtual assistant, but eventually, if that's kind of what you want to learn, then learn those different aspects of online marketing, and by all means, call yourself a digital marketer. So I hope that helps answer your question. Last one, and then we'll go to the chat. How do I hire a subcontractor without being cut out of the deal? Very good question. All right. So the very first thing that you guys need to know when hiring a subcontractor, and this is not just when hiring a subcontractor, with working with anybody. So with you and your clients, and then with your client, with you and your subcontractor, always, 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 always have a contract. Please promise me that you are going to use a contract. Okay. I cannot tell you the number of stories that I have, that our lawyer has, that people in the online space have about something that went south because they had a bad contract. Guys, it's worth it to invest in a contract that was made specifically for you. I know it's tempting when you're first getting started to try to just copy and paste somebody else's contract, to, find something off the internet and grab it and think that it's good enough. But let me tell you, it's not. Okay. You need something that is specific to your business, that you understand your contract and know that it's going to protect you. Okay. And this is between you and your clients, and between you and your subcontractor. So you and your subcontractor should have an agreement. All right. We do sell these on our website. You don't have to use mine, but make sure that you're getting a reputable contract. We have one. It's called our VA Toolbox. It includes your contract and a subcontracting agreement. So one for you and your client, and one for you and your subcontractor. Okay. But as far as, so it needs to be in your contract, right? And then that understanding of the relationship. So when I did subcontracting, I was always kind of the gatekeeper. So my clients would give me the work. I would give the work to my subcontractor. My subcontractor would bring it back, and then I would, make sure quality control, send it back to my client. Not everybody does that. Some people like to connect their clients directly to their subcontractors. And I know that people have grown agencies that way. I will say this, most of the agencies, well, not most, some of the agencies I see, they will either bring those people on as employees, right? And there's a working agreement there, or again, they'll have an ironclad contract. Some of these, and this is really good for you guys to know too, because some of you guys have maybe gone to look at working for like big VA agencies, which is not something I teach. I teach you how to start your own VA agency, because I think you have the skills enough already. But some people will go, there's like these huge agencies out there, and they will have you sign a contract. And guys, read the contract. understand the contract, because they're smart people, right? They know that they don't want you working for their client. So sometimes they'll put in the contract, not only can you work individually for the client, sometimes they'll say that you can't have your own business at all. Okay. And you can't break that contract. Like, you sign that, they can sue you if you do that. So just again, this question, I know it sounded like like the structure of hiring a subcontractor, but it really comes down to having good contracts, understanding a contract before you sign it. I know we're all used to like, oh, let me just click that terms and conditions button before I actually read it. You're a business owner now. You got to put your big boy pants on and you got to read your contracts and understand them. Okay. Deal, everybody. Okay. So that is all I have as far as the questions that were submitted ahead of time. I'm going to go through and grab some of the questions from the chat. And again, if I don't get to your question, you can repost it. My team is going to be helping out with some of the questions as well. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Question about online security. Let's say if I'm hacked, client's info is exposed, am I liable? So you need to have that in your contract, number one. There's also, I recommend everybody contact their, in some places you need to have insurance to start your business. In other places, it's not going to be required. I would recommend everybody contact their insurance agent. You can literally use the same insurance agent that you get like your car insurance through. So contact State Farm or Progressive or whatever, and ask them if they have like an error and omissions policy. Ask them what kind of protection they have for small business owners. And a lot of times there's going to be I'm not an insurance expert by any means. So this is why you'll want to contact your insurance expert. But that just adds an extra level of protection. Okay. So like, yes, if you don't protect yourself with a good contract, if you don't protect yourself with potentially insurance, you could have some liability there. So you just want to make sure that you're protecting yourself on all fronts. Okay. Let's see here. How or where do I find clients? We talked about this a little bit earlier in the live stream, but I would also recommend that you go to my BBO webinar, thevirtualsavvy.com/BBO. I give some great examples of places to find clients in that webinar. So we'll go ahead and just refer to that for now. Newbie here. Do you have a complete course on how to start as a virtual assistant? We do. So my signature course is called the Savvy System. We have over 2,500 students that have gone through the course, have launched their own VA businesses. Some of them are probably in the chat. Go ahead and give a shout out if you are one of our Savvy System students. And so we do have that course. We only do a live launch twice a year, so January and July. So our next live launch is coming up in January. So you'll get a chance to jump in now. I will say this, anybody who watches this webinar also gets a one-time chance to purchase that course. So there's like a little timer. So you do have to make sure that you're like really ready. But if you want to get in before the January deadline, this is kind of like a sneaky insider way to do it. Kate, she's a Savvy System student. Hey, Kate. Awesome. Okay. Can you talk about health benefits? I have an extremely well-paying job with the government, fantastic benefits. I've been wanting to prepare myself for retirement, startup of a small VA bookkeeping business. I'm scared about losing health benefits. Yeah. So this is something that you'll definitely want to consider when you're starting your business. And it's unfortunately one of the reasons that a lot of people end up not pursuing their own business. And I hate seeing that, right? There are a couple of options for you. Number one, I always tell people to go ahead and check out healthcare.gov. For some people, it's not a viable option. I know for my family and I, it was going to be literally thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but I've known people that it was going to be like $60 a month and it was great, right? So always check that as a resource first. There's also health sharing programs, which is something that my family and I did for a while. And that was something like Liberty Health Share. That is a health sharing platform. And so for my family of four, I think we were like $500 a month. So it's an expense for sure. If you're leaving your employer, they may give you a COBRA option, but usually those are very, very pricey. So for you, it's finding out what all the options are, and then you just build that in. So we have a whole lesson in our Savvy system on transitioning from a full-time job to full-time VA. And realize it's not impossible, especially if you have great benefits, but you're going to have to work that into your plan, right? Most businesses stake some startup money. And so for you, you may want to go ahead and have a buffer, and that maybe as you're working your full-time job, you're starting to stockpile some money away to have about 6 months of expenses, including what your health insurance would cost, right? Until you can get the ball running. So that's what I would recommend is, do your research, know how much it's going to cost, and then work it into your plan for leaving your full-time job. It's not impossible. It is more difficult. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. So that would be my recommendation though. Awesome. Oh, yay. We're giving some love for the Savvy system. Only 2 months in, I've gotten some mind-blowing results by simply doing the work. Yay. I love it. Oh, yay. Nikki. Sorry. I just have to highlight these. You guys. Okay. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We love our Savvy system students. You guys are killing it. Okay. We get this question a lot, and you're going to get me on a little soapbox here. Audra, you didn't know the can of worms you were opening. It's okay. It's not your fault. Thoughts on offering a free trial period to gain experience and determine if a client was a good fit, maybe 4 free hours to be used over a 2-week period. I am so not a fan of offering free work. Okay. And here's why. People will do it sometimes to get experience, to get your feet wet. I think you can get experience and get your feet wet while getting paid to do it. Okay. Because here's the thing. Has anybody ever worked for somebody for free? And maybe you have experience that it went well. I have found that the people who want you to work for free or aren't willing to pay you your full rate are the worst clients. I'm telling you. You're not like, let me experience what it's like to be a VA. Well, I don't want you to do that with somebody who's not going to pay you, because that's not a good experience, right? You're not going to really be able to embrace the amazingness of somebody paying you for your worth. Like, your skills are valuable, and it's okay for somebody to pay you for them from day one. Okay. So, I'm not a big fan of like work for free, work for testimonial. People saying I'm doing an internship, but it's unpaid. Like, it's not an internship unless if you're getting some kind of like there are legal standards, at least in the US, for what an internship is. Right. And so I'm not a fan of it. We don't allow them in our Savvies group, people doing like work for free posts and stuff like that, just because I think that you can go out and you can get your first client, a paying client. And guys, if you have had that experience of getting your first paying client, it's like nothing else in the world. Okay. It's so worth it to hold out for somebody that's going to pay you. Now, if you want to do a reduced rate, sometimes people will do barter in the beginning. I'm not totally against that stuff. I still think like, hey, go in strong with the rate that you're worth. But I get it. Sometimes people are like, I just can't charge $30 an hour in the beginning. I just can't. I'm going to get my first client at $20 an hour. That's fine. Do that. Then raise your rate with each new client though. Okay. And make sure that it's in your contract that you can eventually raise that rate. If you're being hired as a subcontractor, who sets the rate in the contract, you or the client? Okay. Great question. So, you as a virtual assistant, you have your clients here, right? They're hiring virtual assistants. As a virtual assistant, you are an independent contractor, which means you set your own rate. Okay. Now your client can say, this is my budget. I think that this is where we get confused sometimes, because clients don't always know this. And we'll like harp on people being like, you can't say that you'll only pay $30 an hour because you can't set my rate. And it's like, well, yeah, but they can set their budget, right? They could say, hey, this is all I can afford. And that's kind of what you can do too. So whenever you have your client, you're the VA, then you hire a subcontractor. In the same way, they are an independent contractor. Okay. So they set their own rate, but you by all means can set your budget and you can say, hey, I've budgeted, $15 an hour or whatever it may be for a subcontractor. And you can communicate that with them. In the same way, when it comes to the contract, we provide contracts here and contracts here. And honestly, it doesn't necessarily matter. There's like no regulation of like who has to provide the contract. We provide both because we like for you to just understand your contract. So if your client has a contract and you have a contract, don't sign two contracts. Okay. That's no bueno. Don't sign two contracts, just sign one. And it's okay if you sign their contract as long as you understand what you're signing. Same thing with your independent contractor. They may have their own contract and you may look and be like, oh, okay, we'll use yours instead of mine. That's fine. Just make sure you understand. Okay, so generally speaking, the contractor themselves would have the contract. Okay, so like you as a VA, normally you have that for your client. Normally that's the way it works. But we provide them because here's what we found is that a lot of times VAs, they're finding subcontractors who don't have contracts. And we're like, here, use this contract that we have instead of just finding something on the internet that you just copy pasted. Okay. Yolanda, I promise to always use a contract. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Guys, there's so many good questions, and I know that I'm not going to be able to answer all of these. I want to go back to the top a little bit. So see if there were some that I missed. Okay, here. Oh, yay. This makes me happy. Jocelyn said, my friend and I want to begin our VA business in Canada. We're university students, guys. Let me just tell you, Jocelyn, yay for you. I want to scream to the youth of America, freelance. So amazing, right? So for those of you who don't know, my husband and I, we were youth pastors at our church. We were volunteer youth pastors up at National Community Church in DC when we lived there. And one of our students went on to college. She went to a college in New York, and her friends would be going to trudge out in the snow to work at a coffee shop or to go work at a gas station. And she'd be sitting in her dorm room with her pajamas at her laptop being like, bye guys. And they're like, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And she was making more money than they were. And it was amazing. So I am such a big fan. I worked my way through college. I graduated with my master's degree debt-free because I worked all the way through college. And I'm just a huge fan of that. Okay. Lots of soapboxes we're getting on. But yes, I think that this is amazing. And so, Jocelyn, I would say, again, the best place that you can start is with that checklist and starter kit. It's going to tell you everything that you need to know. And you can just go through the steps, right? And that would be my recommendation. But I just want to give you a shout out because I think that that's huge. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, here. Is this live going to be recorded and posted? So yeah, so all of these live streams, and we have record of all the previous live streams too, guys. So if you go to my Facebook page, just type in the Virtual Savvy on Facebook, and you'll go to my page. Go ahead and like it, follow it, do those fun things, because then you'll be notified when I go live. There's an actual purpose for doing that. But if you go and just click on videos on there, you will actually see all the live streams. And we've been doing this for, I think, over a year now. So there is crazy amount of content you can go through. You can have it while you're driving, just do the audio of it. Okay. We've talked about taking the audio from these and making them into a podcast someday. So people could just listen, but one thing at a time. It's a good life lesson, business lesson. Just focus on one thing at a time. Don't get ahead of yourselves. That's what I have to tell myself literally all the time. Anybody else a serial entrepreneur? You're like, I have so many ideas. Just do one. Just start it one thing at a time. Don't start something new until you've finished the last thing. So hard, right? Let's see here. We have more questions. Oh, somebody posted a link to that video. That's awesome. Okay. Will you be willing to talk about discovery calls and onboarding? I'm confused about when to discuss pricing and how to create proposals. Thank you for your amazing content. You're welcome, Allie. Okay, so there's a lot here. Okay, there's a lot in this question. I will say if you go to, I think it's thevirtualsavvy.com/onboarding, we have a whole blog post about this. We actually sell an onboarding system too that's like our signature process for how to onboard clients. So generally what happens is this, just so everybody like gets the basic flow. You see a job posted online, okay? So somebody like posts a job opportunity in our VA Savvies. What you will then do is send them some kind of a proposal. It's your pitch. It's your like, hey, I'm here, like me, love me, right? And so that's where you're going to show your value first. If you can find this person's, now, if they say, don't email me, don't PM me, whatever it may be, don't do that. So you want to follow directions, number one. But a lot of times they'll put an email address, and that's your opportunity, guys. That's your opportunity to do a proposal that is amazing. And so it's up to you whether you want to put your pricing in there or not. Again, for our job opportunities, a lot of times they've already set a budget. So you can go ahead and address that fits your needs, or you can send them pricing info or not. I think that it kind of depends. Like I'm a big fan of having pricing on your website. That way, if people are finding you, they kind of get an idea of your pricing and you're not just having discovery calls with leads that you're not sure about. I'm not as big of a fan in talking about pricing in proposals, but it's up to you. I just like to really talk about value first, just kind of sell yourself in that main proposal. Then what will happen is generally you'll get on a discovery call. And so the two of you guys will meet on a call. We use Zoom most of the time for our calls. And so you guys will get on a call, and it's really important that you lead that call. Okay. Again, there's so much. This is literally like a whole section in our Savvy System course. So we have this whole like nail the sale discovery call training, and we have like templates of how you lead the call and what you're going to say and all of this. But the important thing to know is that you need to go in with a plan, and you need to set the tone from the beginning of like, hey, hey, I'm excited to chat with you. Here's how these calls usually go. They last about 20 minutes. I'm going to ask some questions about your business. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my business, and then we're going to see if we're a good fit. Okay. And during that discovery call process, at the end is when you would bring up the pricing. And then you always do follow-up emails that you document everything that you discussed. Okay. So that's kind of how it works. Then once they say, yes, I want to work with you, whether that's on the call, it's always great if you can get somebody on the call to say yes. Okay. You send over that contract. You can literally be on the call with them while they're signing the contract if you want. I think it's awesome. As much as you can get people to take action while they're still on the call with you, it's perfect. So, but you get them to sign a contract, and then you would do what your onboarding process is. So onboarding is basically just here's how we're going to work, right? So you could have an onboarding meeting, which is what we suggest, where you kind of lay out everything. You could have kind of a welcome packet that's just a PDF of like, here's how I work. Here's the best way to reach me. Here's how we're going to send projects back and forth to each other. Here's like the approval process. Remember, you're the business owner, so you get to decide this stuff. You get to say, here's how I'm going to invoice you. Here's how here's how I would like for you to send me projects. Here's, I have a 24-hour email turnaround time. So if you need something in less than 24 hours, I'm going to charge a rush fee on that, or whatever it may be. So you get to decide all of that. Nitty gritty. But again, I could go on and on, but that's kind of the beginning basics of what all of that is. Okay. How do I get over the lack of an advanced degree, like a bachelor's or master's? You don't need it. Honestly, here's the thing with now I'm not saying, let me just throw this out there. I'm not a total like, nobody should get an education. Although I think a lot more people pay way too much money for education than they should. I have a whole beef with higher ed, and I worked in higher ed. I have a master's degree, and literally what I've learned just in this online space is so much more than I ever learned from my degrees. I got a degree in marketing and a degree in organizational leadership. And I've learned more just by absorbing information online, taking online courses, listening to audiobooks than I ever did in my education. So just know that, first of all. Second thing, nobody really needs to know your background. Now, if you have a master's degree, by all means, you can put that on your About Me page or whatever. But when you're sending a proposal, guys, this isn't a resume. So you don't need to include like your education experience or anything like that. So if a plumber comes to your house to fix something, you don't ask him like where he went to school, right? Contractors, you just don't, you're buying a service from a business. You're not interviewing somebody for like a position, you know what I mean? Like it's not a W-2 position that you're going after that you need an actual resume. So hopefully that makes sense. So don't let that stop you. Just know that many of our students had no higher education at all and have made this thing work for them. Okay. I love this. I had a client rave about my onboarding process, which I modeled directly from Savvy System training. Yay. So good. Should I put prices on so I'm doing a 1-pager about my business for initial information. Should I put prices for my services or prices starting at? I love the prices starting at. That's kind of my favorite, or sometimes even just having prices. Because again, you need some sort of way to weed out the people who are you're just so far out of their price range, right? Like if your rates are $30 an hour and somebody wants a VA that they're going to pay $5 an hour to, like it's just not worth your time to go and do a discovery call with them, right? So it's just good to communicate that ahead of time. So I'm a big fan of having prices on a website or before you have a website, putting them on some kind of portfolio. That way people just know the ballpark that that you can start the discussion there. So I am a big fan of having, your prices listed or prices starting at. Let's see. How do you explain to your client a package if you don't charge an hourly rate? So $300 a month for a flat rate. Abigail, nice name. I always wanted my name to be Abigail. It's just Abby, but life is what it is. How do you explain your package rate if you don't charge hourly? So here's the thing, guys. You have to, again, we have a whole blog post about like hourly versus package rates. I love when I see people move to packages. Okay. Why do I love that? Because let's say that you are building a website for somebody and it takes you, okay, so you do $100 an hour. Okay, hold on. I'm going to mess this up. It takes you do $100 an hour and it takes you 10 hours to complete. That'd be $1,000, right? I'm so bad at math. Okay. So then you would do this website for $1,000, right? But eventually, if you're doing $100 an hour and you get better at your job and you can complete a website in only 5 hours, well, then now you're only getting paid $500 an hour or $500 for a website because you got better at your job, right? So you can see the flaw in hourly pricing. I'm a fan of hourly pricing. I actually tell people to start out with hourly pricing because I think that it's the only way for us to get to know how we work. It's the only way for us to get to understand how long things even take. But once you can start and you can transition to a package-based pricing, it's going to be better. Hey, I'd do $1,000 for a website. And if it takes you 10 hours or if it takes you 5 hours, you're still getting the same amount at the end of the day. You don't get penalized for getting faster and better at your job. Okay, so with that said, when you do package-based pricing, though, there has to be some kind of value associated with it, all right? So that's why it can be hard to do just general VA work because, hey, I'll be your VA, but what are they getting in exchange, right? Like, is it inbox zero? Okay, that's good. That's like, I will make sure your inbox is zero at inbox zero for every day, and that's $300 a month. Okay, that's cool. But again, I would have tiers of how many emails because what if this person only has 100 email subscribers, but eventually they have 10,000 email subscribers? Like it's going to take more of your time. Okay. So these are just all things to consider. It's really easy when it's like blanket, like I do Pinterest management, which means that I'm going to, join this many boards. I'm going to pin 30 pins a day. I'm going to XYZ. And here are my packages. Because again, you still need, and this is the thing, at the end of the day, even when you move away with hourly pricing, you still kind of have an hourly price in your head because you know how long something's going to take and you know what your rate is. Even if you're not saying this is my hourly rate, you kind of know that internally, and that's how you price your packages. Okay. So I think at the end of the day, you've got to list out exactly what's included, have a scope of work, right? This is exactly what is included when you pay this amount, and anything outside of that. So you're running somebody's Pinterest and they're like, oh, can you actually put all this stuff on Instagram too? What? Nope, that's not in my scope of work. That will be additional, right? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Taxes. The client should provide a year-end 1099. Yes. Okay. Yes, but yes. So generally speaking, if a client pays you over $600 in a calendar year, well, so like January through December, if they pay you over $600, then they need to send you a 1099 miscellaneous form. You'll get that form and you'll use that to report your income on your taxes. But here's the thing, guys. Some clients just aren't good. Some people won't do it. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. If they paid you through like PayPal, a service like PayPal actually sends you your tax forms, not the client. And sometimes PayPal will send it and then clients are confused. And so they'll send it too. And so you don't need to doubly report that income, right? That was the fault of the client, not your fault. If they paid you less than $500, or less than $600, you still need to report your income. So here's what I tell every VA. You guys, yes, your clients should send you 1099 forms. And I always, like at the end of the year, I would just, as a courtesy, let all my clients know, like, hey, reminder, you need to send me a 1099 form. Here's a website you can do it from, just as a courtesy to them. But at the end of the day, you guys are responsible for your own taxes. So keep detailed records. Okay. You can use something like Waze for accounting. You can do QuickBooks. You can just do a good old Google spreadsheet, but every dollar that comes in and out of your business needs to be documented, because yes, you do need to pay taxes on all profit that you have for your business. So even if a client forgets to send you a 1099 form, guys, you're not exempt. Oh, yay. Now that was just free money. I don't have to pay taxes. It's not the way it works. Okay. Awesome. How far were you into your business before you hired a subcontractor? So, oh my gosh, your profile picture is so sweet, baby. Sorry, distraction. Okay. So I did it right away. I'm not going to lie. It was like a week because I was super pregnant when I started my business. And I was like, we're going to get this thing going. And I'm going to have clients and I have subcontractors, and I'm not going to be working very much when I had a baby, which didn't entirely happen, but I really tried. And I had 4 subcontractors within 4 months. So that was me. And that was my story. I think, guys, we're in the business of outsourcing, right? So if a team is something you eventually want to have, like, go ahead and get yourself used to that. Even if it's just a one-time project for your own business or for your client's business. Again, make sure it's in your contract that it's okay that you subcontract out some of the work. It's important that that's in your contract. But, from the very beginning, hire somebody on Upwork, find a friend to do a little bit of your business. Start at least practicing the art of outsourcing. Start systematizing your processes and handing off little things to other people just so you get used to it as soon as you want to, right? Building a team was always really important to me. I love, oh my gosh, we have 11 people on our team, full-time team members now. And I just love it. It's like my favorite thing. So, but some people don't want to build a team, and that's fine too. I talk so much in these. I need water. Do you need a CPA and a tax person? So yeah, those are generally used pretty interchangeably. So I guess there are different kinds of accountants. So generally, somebody will have a bookkeeper and an accountant. a lot of times, like in the very beginning, unless if you guys have crazy tax situations, most of you can do your own bookkeeping and accounting. And I'm a person who's terrible at math. You guys saw me do math in my head just a second ago, and it was kind of embarrassing. So, and for the longest time, I did my own bookkeeping and accounting. Okay, until you start making like a couple $1,000s a month, or if you have some other things in your business, then most of the time, like I would just keep record of stuff on my own, and then at the end of the year, I would just use TurboTax. Now, eventually, we started making more money. We had the subcontractors. We, bought a house. We did all this stuff, and it was like, whoo, I need a bookkeeper and accountant to help me. So the bookkeeping is kind of that keeps your records, all of your income and expenses. They're going to create that profit and loss statement. They're going to do all of that for you. Your accountant is who would actually do your taxes. If you had to choose one or the other, well, I guess it depends. Because it depends on your situation. Because again, a lot of it depends on your personal situation, right? Like if you have a lot of personal things that make your taxes weird, you might be somebody that already has an accountant, right? So you would need to add a bookkeeper at some point. When's a good time to create your own website? Great question, Gloria. I'm a big fan. Anybody who's been following me for a while knows this. I'm a big fan of creating your website after you get your first client. I don't think that you need a website to get your first client. I think every business should eventually have a website. I'm not one of these people that's like, don't have a website. It drives me crazy when businesses don't have websites. But to get your first client, I say usually go ahead and get your first client first, because here's why. Most of us are perfectionists. Do we have any perfectionists watching today? Most of us are perfectionists. And so we will like, oh, okay, I've got to get my socials. I got to start posting 3 times a day. I've got to get my website. It needs to be perfect. And we'll spend like 4 months coming up with a website. And then it's like live. Okay, I've launched. And then there's no clients. And we're like, oh my gosh. And then you have to start from there, starting to get clients. And it's like, before you know it, 6 months have gone by in your business. I've been working on my business for 6 months and I still don't have clients. Well, yeah, because you started marketing like 2 weeks ago, right? So if you start marketing from day one and do all the business setup stuff as you're going, you go ahead and get that ball rolling. And I just think that some of us shouldn't be building our own websites. I'm going to be really honest. Some of us shouldn't be building our own websites because your efforts are built somewhere else or best used somewhere else. So you can use that money from your first client to pay for somebody to build your website, right? Again, if you are good at websites and you can throw up a website in a day and you're like, okay, it's done, go for it. By all means, do that. But just don't let it be something that you get hung up on. Okay, we have a question from Nikki. I have a client who's very active, open on social, not as open during our weekly check-in call. I feel they're probably like a stage open person. I feel to add the value I'd like, I must consume her content, watch all the videos, listen to all the podcasts, although she's not requested it. However, it's very time consuming. Do I charge for this? Okay, so I think a lot of this is not so much I think a lot of this is maybe just a mindset issue around your worth to them. Okay. I don't think that you need to be doing all of that to do your job, but if it is necessary for you to do your job, 100% you should be counting that time, and you need to communicate that with your client. Like, hey, I need you to give me the highlights. If you're not giving me the highlights, if you're not communicating this, what I'll do, give them an action plan. I will spend 30 minutes twice a week going through this content. That'll be an hour. That's just me doing research so I can better provide solutions to you. And so, but let them know that. But yeah, I mean, anything that you're doing for a client, any calls that you're doing for them, emails you're working on them, research you're doing for their company, all of that does need to be counted in your time and communicated to them. Oh my goodness, you guys have so many good questions, and I know we need to get to a close here. Let me grab a few more. Okay, what's the difference? Hi, Julie, between an LLC and a sole proprietor? Great question. So whenever you start your business, you say, hey, I'm I'm accepting money to provide virtual assistant services. You're a sole proprietor. Anytime that you make money, that's and you haven't formed some kind of another entity for it, it's basically considered a sole proprietor. I would get an EIN number no matter what. That way you're not using your social security number with clients. Okay. So it's free to get. You can literally type in get an EIN and you can follow through the steps. It's super easy. You can get one for free. Just a couple of quick questions you need to fill out. So get an EIN number. You're a sole proprietor. So you're working as a sole proprietor. And then when you say, I want to protect my business legally, that's when you form an LLC. So now in some places, it's required that you form an LLC for your business before you start operations. That's where I recommend go to score.org to see what the regulations are for where you live. Okay. So, but what happens when you form an LLC? That just means, like being blunt here, if somebody's going to sue you, they're suing the business and not you. So they can't come after your personal assets when you're operating under an LLC. And you can see why this can be really, really advantageous. So I recommend forming an LLC as soon as possible. When I first started, it wasn't required where I lived, and I didn't have any assets. So it was like, if somebody came after me, it'd be like, well, I don't have anything anyway. So it was, we were living in a basement apartment. Like it was just, so I waited a little while. But once I had, something to protect a little bit more, then I formed that LLC. So I tried to do it as soon as possible. So check out what the regulations are. Now I will note this because we were talking about taxes earlier. It does not change. A lot of times people think that forming an LLC changes your tax status. Has nothing to do with taxes. All it does is it's a legal thing. It protects you legally. It does not change your tax status. As an LLC, you are still a pass-through entity. So that means that your business, all the money you make, will still all just be reported on your personal tax return. Okay. So forming the LLC or not forming the LLC literally makes no difference on the actual taxes. So yeah, the only way that it would like start to become different is if you end up forming like a corporation, which some people, if you're starting to make, $10,000 a month or more in your business, then you can start considering forming an S corporation, and that's going to save you on taxes. And then that does actually change your tax status as well. All right. Can we get a glimpse of the day in the life of head savvies? Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah, we'll do that sometime. Don't shower till 3, and I work at my computer and I play with my kids, and that's mostly it. And serve you guys and hang out with my team. Okay. Awesome. So this has been amazing, guys. I'm seeing even more questions, and I know I want to answer all of them. So if for some reason we didn't get to your question, post in our VA Savvies community. That's what we're here for. Myself, other Savvies can come alongside you in this journey. Don't forget to watch this training. Okay. If you've liked listen to me blab for an hour, you can listen to me blab for another hour, all about marketing, finding clients. It's a really, really awesome training. It's got valuable info in there, okay, for finding clients, which is what I know so many of us want to do. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, definitely post in our VA Savvies community, and I will see you next week. Next week, we're going to talk about becoming a REVA, a real estate virtual assistant, and we get questions on this all the time. We've just added a real estate virtual assistant course to our Savvy Vault. And so that's our tech and industry training membership for virtual assistants that we sell. And it's just so good. So we're going to be talking all about virtual assistants for the real estate niche. It's going to be awesome. So I will see you next Tuesday. Bye, guys.